come once again to discuss things.
Knock this bitch out.
Alright. Hi everyone, welcome back to Geeky Gentleman Fan Film Reviews. My apologies on how long of a hiatus this took. Oh shit, that was fun. What do you think? Should I restart or should I keep it?
No, 100% keep that.
A pillow fell and grabbed my cord. Anyway, sorry. Getting involved in some own fan work with Geek for Fun. You can go check out his channel if you want to see some of that. But anyway, this is a review of a fan film, and it's not about my own bullshit. Manos, what are we reviewing today?
This week we are talking about Static Shock 2019.
Yes. Is it called Static Shock? I thought it was just called Static.
It's Static Shock 2019 by David Kirkman. Dakota City Chronicles might be the subtitle.
Interesting. Okay. This was one that I saw kind of, floating around like a little while ago with like the I know they did like a live premiere of it, which is something I copied from my own bullshit. And I was like, oh, cool. This is, it's a nice, really high quality static fan film. That'll be fun to talk about. Did you see this floating around at all? Did you hear about it at all, or was this your first
no,
impression?
This was my first encounter with it. I actually hadn't discovered it on my own. Came out in May. Yeah, I hadn't seen it.
Yeah, it was one of those things that I'd kind of been wanting to talk about for a while, so I'm glad we're getting the opportunity. I'll just start with really general thoughts. I thought this was really well done on the whole. There's things that are obviously it's cheaper to do it this way for effects reasons, and I think they posted their budget in the description of $3,000 was this film's budget, and it does not look like a $3,000 film.
No.
The only thing that kind of hints to that is some of the, the superhero static electricity effects do look a little added in post, but it's often when they're more periphery to a scene, when they're not as important, because when they want to do it really, really well, they show that they're able to, with that scene in the kitchen, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your general thoughts, sir?
I liked it quite a bit. To me, I don't know if the director talked about his influences, but this feels very much like a combination of the Netflix Marvel shows,
Mm-hmm.
which felt like a big influence, and perhaps with the pacing of it, the Christopher Nolan Batman films.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I liked a lot of it. It's very kind of down to earth, whereas costume isn't very elaborate. I like the fact that he still has the Malcolm X shirt. The Malcolm X hat on, and that's essentially hinted at the beginning in the first scene where he has a Malcolm X shirt on, which is I always like that with Static when he wears the Malcolm X shirt. I thought the acting was really solid. It was a kind of nice beginning, kind of origin story for him. I thought I didn't mind the effects. I understand it had a small budget. What was interesting is when they chose to do the very origin of the Big Bang in comic form, which I'm not sure if I particularly cared for the style of the art they used for that. It would have been nice if it was an art style that resembled the old Milestone comics a little bit more. I really like this a lot. It's interesting, and maybe I'll get into it a little bit earlier. Their take on Static. He seems a little bit more brooding than other versions I've seen of him. But we can talk about that. But yeah, otherwise, I really dug it.
Yeah, I thought this was really good. I will agree. The Nolan thing was something I really hadn't thought of, but it is doing kind of that, the real bad guy is the one in the suit, Like there's so much going on here with these ideas of corruption and like these, criminal enterprises. Because I know Static from the show. I never read a Static comic. I know Static from the show vaguely, kind of, caught an episode here or there growing up, saw his crossovers with other DCAU stuff. About a year ago now, I kind of went back and watched the whole series because it was available on the DC app, and I was really, really impressed by a lot of it. I thought Dwayne McDuffie did just a fantastic job on the series, and they were doing a lot of really cool things. But at the same time, it is kind of like a product of its time in a lot of ways, and it's got like a different superpowered villain every week, and that gets kind of, very formulaic. So to get to see, a fan interpretation of Static that's going for the more broody, the more intense social commentary side of things, and playing with the idea of playing politics and stuff, I thought that was a cool take that it's probably not really fresh to Static, but it's fresh to me. So I kind of appreciated that just as an outside viewer. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I read a few of the Monstrum comics when they first came out, particularly Static and Icon. I bought the first issues of a couple of the others, but Static and Icon were the ones I read the most. I even read the first couple of issues of the New 52 Static.
Yeah, same.
I didn't care for that as much as I did for the original comics, and yeah, that is pretty indicative of a lot of the Milestone comics. There was a lot of social political stuff going on in those titles. A lot of the stuff of the night, a lot of stuff of the politics of the day of the early '90s, which unfortunately have not really changed all that much. Just the names and details, really. So it was nice to have that still incorporated here. I'm glad they didn't gloss over anything like that. Yeah,
totally. You brought up a point that Virgil's like a very different character here, and yeah, from what I know him from, very much so.
Yeah.
Because Virgil has kind of that Peter Parker thing going for him in his like social life, where his mouth just writes checks that his ass cannot cash. Because like that's kind of the thing I always loved about Spider-Man is, now he can be quippy and actually put up with it, whereas before when he was Peter Parker, all he had was the quips, and he had to hope that his quips did more emotional damage than the bullies could do physical damage to him. And I think Virgil, as I'd seen and as I'd read him before, was just very much the same way.
Correct. I think if you compare like Steve Ditko, Stan Lee's Peter Parker before he became Spider-Man versus like the Dwayne McDuffie Virgil Hawkins, I think Virgil was actually even more outgoing than Peter was. He was outgoing kind of in both. He just became more so when he put on the costume. So yeah, it's just a little it's different to see him kind of like so like he's a lot more quiet and angry. Yeah, he's a little more confrontational. He's a little more quieter. He's a little quieter and he's a little more angry than I've seen in previous versions. But I mean, that's not an incorrect take. It's not completely out of the ballpark of the character, but with this, it did seem to focus more on that kind of aspect of him, his angrier side.
Yeah, well, like, the scene that really stood out for me for just such a different take on the character, at least to what I'm used to, was when the friends of Miles, like, try to, confront Virgil and Richie while they're having lunch, and Virgil is just, again, very confrontational. You can tell he's got like I have superpowers now, so I don't have to worry about bullies. So he's not afraid of them anymore. And I don't know, it's not something I've seen done with Virgil before, but it was kind of interesting to see. I will say whoever was writing the lines for his banter with that bully was really good at roasting people. I thought that was pretty funny. You look like you're out of breath. You need to sit down. I about lost it with that one. I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna save that for later."
I also the scene that stuck out for me regarding this aspect of their version of Virgil is the confrontation he has with his dad, where they have like that very angry and kind of like distant and cold kind of like exchange. It's actually it was a little awkward, but it's like also kind of sad to see them so mad at each other. It's like, oh, come on, man. It's like, so yeah, that's one of the things that really stuck out to me.
Yeah,
that was a good
good
scene, incidentally. I should.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was really well acted scene. Just, it's shot like really tight, and that would almost come off as like kind of amateurish to me, except for the fact that so much of the rest of the film is shot really well. So I kind of like see that, and I'm like, I think it's meant to feel kind of claustrophobic and kind of add to the awkwardness of the story beat of the conversation. And again, I like that Virgil is very much like a kid in that scene. He's kind of lashing out because he's not getting attention, basically. And it's more complicated than that. It's more teenagery and broody than that, but that's what it boils down to, is his father's, putting something else in front of him, and he's having a, kind of a childlike reaction to it. And I thought that was a pretty cool way to convey that, this is a character with a lot of growing still left to do. And I thought it was interesting that was all kind of epitomized through the character of Miles. Miles is kind of the reverse of Virgil, where he's still, in a lot of ways, he's very impulsive, he's acting like a kid, and it's getting him into a lot of trouble because he's being directed toward things that are just really, really bad. In that way, it's like, he got impulsive on a robbery and killed somebody. He got impulsive with a gang boss and it almost got him killed again. He ended up in jail. He got given this great opportunity, but clearly he's being set up because he's about to kill a candidate for mayor without a mask on in the middle of the street. So he's probably being photographed or something. I thought all that was like really interesting how that paralleled against Virgil. Because I think both characters are incredibly impulsive, especially when Virgil takes his mask off in front of Miles.
Yeah, that's true. I really liked that scene Miles has with the crime boss. I like that actor a lot.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. I was like, can I have a couple more scenes of this guy? Just being an angry crime boss guy. That's when kind of, I think, at the point where I was thinking, this director, some of the pretty good cast of actors for this. Like everybody's like 100% in, not going too far, not doing too little, and really just it's just really some good performances out of this.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's just a lot going on, under the surface, from just a pure production standpoint. That it's a really well written script, I feel, and it's got a lot of great cinematography and stuff. But there's just so much going on from just a pre-production standpoint. That's also really impressive. Like, this has really good location scouting. I'm pretty sure they got an actual jail.
They must have called in a favor for that or something like that.
Right? Like, I mean, I'm sure, $3,000, they probably had to pay some stuff, like locations and whatnot. But that's a harder pull, and it adds a lot to the scene. Or if it's not an actual jail, wherever they filmed, they made it look like a jail. That's impressive. They got into a school to shoot, and if I'm gonna be maybe a little more critical, I'd say this has one of those odd problems where a lot of fan films are like teenagers trying to pretend to be adult characters, and so everyone looks a little too young, like Batman's voice cracks or something.
Yeah.
This has a little bit of the opposite problem where you've got like some guys who, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but some guys who look like they're early 20s trying to play teenagers, which is pretty typical stuff. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
True.
Also thought like some of the mayor and Virgil's dad were maybe a little too young for the roles, but because it's a fan film, I kind of let it slide. And also the performances are so good anyway that I don't care.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, Virgil and his dad look not that far apart in age. Like, wow, did you have Virgil when you were like 8?
Yeah. I mean, like, again, that's the thing with fan films where I always talk about it. It's like, you get who you can get, and it's more important that they can play the role than it is that they can look the role, or they can, perfectly do this. Like,
True.
I don't care what Batman fan film you're making. I'd rather have the guy who can do a good Batman voice than the guy who can actually backflip off cars. Because, it's a fan film. I'm more interested in good acting than I am in, like, this one particular thing.
Agreed.
What did you think of the effects work that they use on static in this?
I liked them for the most part. They were actually very subtle and sparingly used, which was a good idea since you only have a $3 grand budget and you're going all out with this thing. So, I think they wisely didn't go overboard trying to showcase effects that they couldn't really do. So, yeah, I mean, they chose wisely, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Like, there's, the hallway fight, you mentioned the Netflix thing. Yeah, shit, there's a hallway fight. Next Manos video, top 10 hallway fights. It's got the hallway fight that did feel very reminiscent of Daredevil. I like that Virgil's powers are portrayed in such a way where, yeah, he's a danger, but he's still learning how to use them. And so he's not like this just unstoppable force yet. So he's like, he's pretty clever, and he'll send like electricity through the wall and short the lamp and take someone out that way. But that's like, he can only do that so many times.
True.
And he looks like he's getting exhausted in the fight, not just from getting beat up, but also from just use of his powers, which I thought was a cool little limiter, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And plus, I gotta admit, like, if I got static electricity superpowers tomorrow, I'm not quite sure how I use them. I would have to kind of like go trial by error.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you have to like suddenly use them in a fight. Like, oh, okay, I guess I will touch the wall here and see if that does a thing.
Yeah, but I thought the effects on them were pretty good. Just like, okay, we'll just trail his fist with lightning bolts so you get the impression that it's hitting someone. We'll have like his neck start to glow a little bit so you get the sense that he's charging up. Nice little subtle things. Again, when they really wanted to go for it, and I mean, it's the best shot in the whole thing with the, it ends up being the thumbnail when he's in the kitchen and he's just got the band of electricity running between his hands. That was really, really good looking.
That looked good. And that's the thing, like, digital effects like that are kind of cheap now to make. I actually realized that a couple of years ago. I was watching a review from a YouTuber named Brandon Tenhold, and he was doing a review of Star Crash, the 1979 ripoff of Star Wars and stuff like that. And then he was making fun of the fact that the movie was taking it was making a big deal out of one of its characters' ability to do like electronic effects with his hands and electric stuff, and they were showing off in the movie. And then he cuts back to himself and goes, "Hey," and then he adds a visual effect of himself doing it, and it actually looks better than the professional movie. It's like, yeah, things have changed.
Lightning effects are one of those things that's just pretty easy. I remember back in high school, I was in a theater class, and we wanted to integrate there's a character has a flashback, and so we wanted to integrate that as like a film thing. And I'm like, oh, let me do the editing on this. I've got this program where I can do all kinds of stuff. Like, it can even add lightning. And it's just there's such this temptation when you have the tools to use the tools, and it's kind of funny. I don't think that was going on here. I think that it would have been very easy for them to overextend and try to they could make the lightning look really good and have some kind of big and showy with it, or they can save it for just like that one moment, or they can just use it sparingly and really make it have that impact. And I think that was the much wiser choice in what they did and
Agreed.
Presented here. What else can we talk about with this one? I need a couple more minutes. What did you think about the what did you think about the way that this ends with kind of the ambiguous, did Virgil save his father or not?
I thought it had a nice kind of cliffhanger. It makes me feel like they want to do more. And if it ends here, then I'm going to go with the assumption he did save it. I kind of like the fact that they went it that way. It also ends with a post-credit scene with Icon.
Okay, let me ask you, because I wasn't sure if this was just me, because I watched this, I watched the end credits twice. Once on my phone, and then I came home and I watched it on my TV. My scene was muted, for the majority of it?
Yeah.
Did you have that too?
I was going to ask you that,
because
I kept mucking around with my my earphones. Wait, did I actually was watching it in the other room, and I came into the living room with the router. It's like, oh, am I too far away from the router? Let me hear. No, it's doing it. I think there's a technical mistake. There's a big technical mistake that they didn't fix when they posted this.
Maybe, or what it might be is maybe they used a copywritten song, and YouTube, I know, lets you have the option to take out just the audio that is being flagged. Oh yeah. So maybe it's muted during those specific sections where the song can be heard.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, and this has a lot of views, so it obviously would have been tagged.
Yeah, that's what I think might have happened. I'm really not sure. I tried to scroll through the comments to see if anyone else was reporting it, but they were all in Spanish, or no, they were all in Portuguese. So that was kind of, oh, well, that doesn't help. Apparently someone went and made a Portuguese subtitles for this, so that's pretty cool. So I was like, I didn't really know what to think of that. From the brief bit of audio we get, Icon sounds like a bit of a dick. I don't know if that's what they were going for. That's a character I honestly don't know anything about.
He is kind of a dick.
Okay. Okay, good.
He is, well, I don't know if he's changed since the book originally started, but he was touted as kind of in his daily, a rich black conservative. And very conservative, or something like that. And that was how he starts, and how he has these different types of people he encounters and stuff like that, and his partnership with Rocket. So yeah, he's kind of, I don't know, he's not like nice.
Okay, cool.
So
Cool.
yeah,
I
I
mean, they're
thought that was
making. I should mention they are working on an Icon fan film now. They posted a brief trailer for it. I think they might have done like a Kickstarter or something. I'm not 100% on that one.
oh cool.
But
I'll
they
watch
are,
that.
yeah, they are in production on an Icon fan film now. They might even be in post production at this point. So
I
definitely
wonder
worth subscribing to them.
I wonder if they're doing this in kind of the style of like the Marvel Netflix or like the Marvel films where one builds off each other.
I mean, I'd hope so. I think that'd be a really cool way to do it.
Yeah, it's a good method.
Yeah, it looks really interesting. Again, I just kind of wish I could see that scene without the audio not being there. You know, that was a little unfortunate because it's some of the best shot stuff in the film too. You know, like it
Yeah.
just it looked really good. It's at a nice location. They do the whole slow motion thing with the cape. It looked really good. It was kind of disappointing that the audio wasn't there. And again, I really do doubt that they uploaded it that way without realizing it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Now
I think it was probably like a YouTube copyright flag or something.
your theory sounds actually closer to mine. Actually, I think that sounds more correct. Knowing what I know of YouTube, that sounds more
Yeah.
right.
God, YouTube is bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Don't forget, by the way, if you're watching this, to like and subscribe.
Subscribe.
Notification
Smash
bell.
that like button.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, all right. Let's go ahead and go on to ratings then. I'll go first. I thought this was really well done. There was very little that I had any kind of complaint about, and even then, it's the kind of stuff that I just give passes because of the nature of these fan projects. Maybe I'm like completely wrong on the actor's age thing, and like the actor playing Virgil's really like 14 or some shit.
No,
That'd be
he's
hilarious.
He's got to be 24 or something like that.
Yeah,
But,
you think so? Anyway, so I'm gonna give this like a really high. I'm gonna give this 4.5 out of 5 trash can lids. 'Cause static on the trash can lid was always such a cool visual. Even though I've
Yeah.
literally never in my entire life seen a trash can like that with that kind of lid.
Yeah, they don't really do that anymore, do they? That used to be a thing. You know, it's funny. They recently did in Steven Universe. One of the characters has like metal magnet powers or something like that, or telekinesis regarding just metals.
Okay.
And she has started riding around on a trash can lid. Now I remember, like, oh, I wonder if that's a Hamas. I wonder if that's a tribute to Static.
Interesting. All right. What will you rate this fan film, Manos?
And you're right. I don't think there's a trash can lid in this film. Boo. 0 out of 10. No. No, I thoroughly enjoyed it. The acting is really good. I dig the pace in the story. I enjoyed the story quite a bit. And yeah, I also, I dig Static, so it's nice to see, some Static fan films for him. I'm also going to give this 4.5 Malcolm X hats.
Nice. Alrighty, Manos. What are we reviewing next week?
We are doing a, let's see. Oh, I don't know. This is where we'll edit in what we're going to do. Let's see.
No, this is everybody's favorite part of just you trying to think of something.
Okay, yeah. Damn people liking that. But
I don't know if people like it, but I like it. It always cracks me up.
Let's see.
man.
I'll pick something really awesome for next week.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Let's see. Let me look. I'm not looking right now at YouTube. I'm just trying to remember that thing I was going to totally pick. Let me see. We already did that one. Anyway, we'll do one next week. It's great.
Okay. All right, everyone, thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the realist.
And we are your geeky gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.